Hello everyone. Today I want to look at the math of mods and how they all interact. We showed you in the last video some of the basic screens. On this video, we're going to actually go over the actual math. Basically, which percentages make sense, which flat ones sort of make sense, what things you want to look at when you're actually applying mods to the different characters, because it's not as simple as this is a speed set, or this has got a lot of speed on it, or this has got a lot of offense. The interactions of the different mods can actually make some mods better than others, even though they might have slightly lower stats. But when combined with other stats on your mod, make them a better set. So when we're looking at these things today, I'm going to use the speed mods and the speed stat to describe the math. It's the simplest one to do this with. It's the things I'm going to talk about apply to almost anything. The offense mods are the same way, but they're a little more complex, and this is the reason I have R2D2 up. Is they're a little more complex because of their interactions. There's both percentage and flat rate for offense, and on top of that, the offense affects two versions of the stat. There's the regular physical damage and the special damage that can be done by characters. Most characters only do one type. You'll look at their stats and they'll do just regular damage, but some of the characters will do both damages. And some will do only special damage. You want to watch that when you're doing your mod calculations. Sometimes, like for instance, Yoda is an excellent example of that. All of his abilities use special damage, not physical damage. So if you're doing your calculations using the regular physical damage, you're actually going to be shorting the percentages some of the stats increase they're going to give. Yoda generally has a much better special damage rate, and so you want to make sure you're calculating with that. R2 is one of the examples, though, of why I don't want to use offense to do the basic math here. Is his basic ability uses physical damage, but when he goes to use his burn, it actually does special damage. So when we look at his stats, it's not huge, but it is significant. The regular damage on my R2 is 20, just shy of 2,300. His special offense, though, is just shy of 3,600. That extra 1,300 damage, it's pretty significant. It's it's actually over a 50% increase in the amount of damage he's going to do, depending on which ability he's using. And it's complicated by things like if he's with C3PO, he could be using it more often, depending on how much translation he has. If he's with Jedi training Rey and C3PO, she can be calling C3PO a lot, so that will speed it up even more. So then improvise becomes a skill you use a lot. Instead of every fourth turn, now you're going to be using it every second turn, or in some cases, I've been able to use it back to back. And that difference in damage can add up. So you want to, when you're doing those calculations, think about not just how much you're increasing the stat, but how you're going to use the character. Now, the basic math of this is about the percentages and the flat rates and deciding which ones you're going to go with, whether chasing a set is worth it or not. So the simplest way to talk about that is with speed, and speed is one of the most important stats, so that's what I'm going to go with today. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually the sets. The when you're looking at these mods, the putting together a set seems like a good idea. For instance, on R2 here, I have a potency set, so he gets, because he has the 2, he gets the extra 15% potency, which is a nice little bonus. On the other side, I have his speed set, which gives us an extra 10% speed. Nice little bonus, and seems like something I should chase. I want R2 to be fast, I want him going a lot, so a speed set is good. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, my R2 is not modded by me. This is the set recommended by the game on the basic setting. And as a matter of fact, before I started the video, I went in and looked at the basic settings, and it's telling me to actually change some of these mods now. So clearly I have better mods for R2, but at the time I just wanted them to have some mods through the mod there because I was in a rush to do a Sith raid. In doing that, the computer said, okay, well, let's put a speed set on them. The only problem with putting a speed set on R2 is that his base speed is actually not that high. If we go back out and we look at his stats, sorry, I'm using BlueStack, so it's a little delayed on some of its actions. His base speed, so we currently have a 220 speed, but his actual base speed is 151. So the 10% that I get from the set bonus is on that 151, not on 220. So I'm getting an extra 15.1 speed. This is not a great speed boost for using up 4 slots. Now, if I have a set of speed, a good speed set that has a lot of speed on it, a lot of secondaries with speed, then this is a worthwhile investment. Although I'm not sure that if I had a good speed set like that, I would put it on R2 because there are other characters that need speed even more. That's the key. You want to think about what these sets are actually giving you. In particular, the sets that require 4 of something. Speed is a prime example. At max, you're going to add 10% of the base speed as a bonus. But you're going to use 4 slots to do that. Now, if I go over and I filter my mods, and I just do all the ones that have speed as a secondary, and I go in and sort them by speed, give me one moment here, you're going to see that I'm going to have mods that by themselves give me more than 15 speed. So if I put this mod on and put on this triangle, totally different sets, I put them together, I have more than doubled what the speed set is giving me. And on top of that, because both of these are 2, they require only 2 mods to, or sorry, that's not a good choice, but let's pick one, for instance, this one. Oh, nope, hang on, I meant to click on this one. This one's giving me 15 speed, but it only requires 2 mods. So I have the crit chance multiplier and I have a health set, both of which only require me to have 2 mods each. And between the 2 of them, I've already exceeded what the speed bonus I would get from the speed set I'm on is. So adding these 2 in, I'm going to get a 39 speed, an additional 39 speed. Putting the speed set on them, I'm getting an additional 15 speed. So matching these mods to get a speed set, if I'm really concerned about a speed, is not a good idea. It is better for me to go and select these individual mods, especially since I can then replace his triangle one with this mod, which has another 16 speed, will give me an additional 10% health because it now completes the set bonus. And not great, but it's 24% crit avoidance. So he won't get critted quite as often. Now, I'm not advertising that you should go out and use these types of mods. If you have an arrow, you should be looking for speed. I just happened to be playing one day and this one got 2 extra speed increases, and it's not too bad of a mod that way. And then, so the same problem with the crit chance. I can probably find a crit chance mod somewhere that will give me additional speed or even some other stat that I'm interested in, and complete the set, giving me my crit chance bonus. That's the thing to think about when you're looking up the sets. They're a nice bonus. If you can complete the bonus, you should do it. But it should not be your primary concern when you're modding them. Getting the extra 10% speed is not as much as if you get a mod that has 15 or 20 speed on it by itself in its secondary. You can then choose another mod and add in another mod with secondary speed if you're really after speed. Or you can add a different mod of a different type that gives you some other stat you're chasing, and give a boost to that character in 2 areas instead of just that one. Now, if you have, for instance, if you have a good, like I do here, I have a good health mod. Go all the way back to the top. I have a good health mod that gives me more speed than I need, or than I get from this speed set. And I find another mod in that set that either gives me more speed or another stat I'm looking for. Yes, I should complete that set. You want to get those bonuses when you can, but you want to think of them as a bonus, not as your goal. If you are chasing a stat, look at the secondaries, look at the primaries, think about how they are adding to this character's stats, and then see if you can complete the bonuses after that. Ideally, you want to complete the bonuses. Ideally, you have enough mods that you can make those bonuses and still have a really good mod set. But that is not your goal. If I put this health mod on, and I put this crit chance mod on, and I put on, an arrow that has 30 speed from crit damage, and I put on a triangle from potency, and all of them have over 20 speed, I'm going to add 80 speed to my character, and I don't have the set bonus, but I'm way ahead. And that's what I'm trying to stress here. You want to look at the actual bonus you're giving to the stat from that set versus what you can do individually on your secondaries and primaries. So that being said, let's move on to percentage versus flat. That's the other calculation that people sometimes don't think through all the way. In terms of speed, there is no percentage. You will get a flat speed as a secondary, or you'll get a flat speed on the arrow. That's all you're going to get. So we will talk about offense for a second here, because offense has both a percentage and a flat. And it's actually one of the ones that people tend to chase. And it's not, they chase the percentage for some reason over chasing the flat. But one of the things to keep in mind is that in terms of the actual secondaries, the maximum percentage offense you can gain on a 5-dot mod is 2.8%. So if all of the upgrade rolls went to your offense percentage and they were all maximized, the maximum percentage you could get is 2.8%. So just shy of 3% of your offense as a boost. If you do flat rate, the maximum you can get is 230 offense. So that's a pretty big boost. If all 4 rolls went to a flat rate offense and you got the maximum, you're going to get 230. So the math is then, how much does my actual base offense have to be for that 2.8% to exceed the 230? And that's a pretty important calculation. You want to know what that number is, because you need to be able to make sure that the character you're adding this mod to is going to work, or is going to get a bigger benefit than using a flat rate. And for instance, on the maximum, if you maxed it out, you would need to have 8,214 offense just to match the same flat rate. So if I have 8,200 and some odd offense, and I get a boost of 2.8%, that's going to give me 230 offense. That's a huge number. No character that I have seen has a flat offense, a base offense of 8,000. So 230 offense on a flat mod is pretty awesome. Anything over 100 as a flat mod, a flat increase, starts to work in favor of the flat increase. Even at 4,000, or sorry, at 3,000, which is kind of the high end for any of these characters, at 0.28, a maximum mod, you're only going to get 84 offense. So your increase on a flat rate at 100 is actually in your favor. Now, people don't always think of that. You think, oh, I'm getting 100 out of that, but I got 2.2% on my offense increase. It's actually not that great. It's one of the reasons why when you go from a 5-dot mod to a 6-dot mod, there's a 200% increase in the percentage adjustment for offense. So, your maximum at 5 for percent offense is 2.8. They jump it all the way up to 8.46 when you get to 6-dot. But they only jump the flat rate up to 253. So that's how telling it is on how much of a difference they used to have in it. At that point, when you get to a 6-dot mod, the the point where the two kind of overlap and where the percentage might come out in your favor is if your flat rate offense, if your base offense, sorry, I shouldn't say flat rate, when your base offense is around 3,000. At that point, both mods, if maxed out, would be giving you roughly the same amount of increase. After that point, if you had 3,500 or 4,000 offense as your base, then the percentage would be in your favor. Before that, then the flat rate one is in your favor. So when you have those you're adding offense to a character whose base offense before mods, their base offense is less than 3,000. You kind of want to do the math. You want to make sure that it's actually in your favor to use the percentage, especially if it's not a 6-dot mod, because if you're not taking that mod to 6 dots, if you're going to stay at the lower end, then any flat mod, any flat increase mod, a flat offense of 100 or higher, is probably in your favor on almost every character. For me, for instance, one of my highest base offense characters is Asajj, and I don't believe she's at 3,000. So again, if I put on a 100 or 150 plus 100 or plus 150 offense mod, I'm actually doing more for her than giving her a maxed out secondary of 2.8%. And most of us don't get that 2.8%. You look at these offense mods. Now, for instance, like even here, I have a plus 30 offense, but let's filter this out over here. Let's go back and select this as offense percentage instead of speed. And let's confirm that. And we will sort by offense percentage. So my best unassigned offense percentage is 1.93%. If I include the characters, I think I have a higher one. Let's just see here. So Talia, oh, it's a 6-dot mod. So that doesn't really help us. Let's look at yeah, I have no higher mod unassigned that isn't a 6-dot. So my highest mod is 1.93%. If I filter by actual offense, flat rate offense instead of percentage, well, we sort again. $124 on this unassigned one. And even if you look, you'll see that I have, there are 5-dot mods here that are assigned to characters that have a much higher offense. All of these mods here are going to do better for me than that 1.9% will. Now, I'm not saying don't use the 1.9%. If you have it and there's some other, if it had speed as its primary, it was an arrow with a 1.9% offense, that's a pretty good bonus. It's worth using. You're getting plus 30 speed and you're getting 1.9% offense. Nothing to sneeze at. But again, just do the calculations and think about it. The percentages, the reason that you see a 200% increase in offense when going from 5 to 6-dot is because they needed to bring that percentage offense in line with the flat rate one. One thing I see a lot of people talking about is how some of the stats went up so much and how the increases are so incredible and you should be focused on those mods. That is not really my thinking on this. If you got a 200% increase on something when you went from one level to the other, that's just CG trying to correct a mistake in the other, in the balancing of the mods at the lower level. The same thing is true of the defense percentage. And as a matter of fact, in almost every case, well, actually not in almost every case, generally, or looking at the list, health percentage went up 86%. Defense went up 134%. Offense was 202%. Potency went up 33%. Protection went up 33%. Over protection flat only going up 11%. That was a balancing thing. They're trying to make it so that those percentage increases at 6-dot are somewhat balanced and worthwhile, so that the flat mods don't dramatically outweigh the percentage mods. And so just do that math. I will stop harping on it now and move on to the next topic. And that final topic here for this is knowing what the the boost is on your mod. When you're upgrading them, whether or not you're getting a mod that's actually worth upgrading. When you get the mod at first, you're going to get some stats. And what you want to keep in mind is, for instance, with speed, I can get a 3, a 4, or a 5. The 3 is actually not great. It's not a terrible thing. If I got 4 more increases to it, I could get anywhere from a 3 to a 6 on each increase. So if I got a 5 and a 6 on each one, I would have a really good mod. It would be in the 20s, probably 25. It would be an awesome mod. But it's not great. It's a bad place to start. I'm already 2 points off of the 5. If I don't get all 4 rolls, if I only get 1 or 2, then and they're not the 5s and 6s, then I may not even break into the teens. And so it's not a great mod to start with. If I start with a 5 mod to increase and I get a couple of 3s, I'm going to get an 11 speed. I'm in the teens. It's not great. It's not awesome. But those 2 extra points have pushed me over into a more useful mod. And an increase of 2 in speed can be a difference in this game. We all know that. If I have 2 extra speed over someone else, I'm going first. Even if I'm matching my 2 R2s at everything the same except for that 2 extra speed, my R2 goes first. There's some advantage to that. So you want to think about the mods that you're going to increase. If you're looking for offense, then look for the mod that starts out with the highest offense, percentage or flat, whatever you're chasing. If you're getting a mod and you're starting at, say your offense is starting at 40, that's a pretty decent start rate. The maximum they can increase each time is 46. So you're on the higher end. You're in a good place to start with that mod. If you're starting down with a 30 and you're going to be increasing that, you're starting to lose out. You're looking at the wrong end. You probably have a better offense mod that you should be looking to increase. So you want to keep in mind what the starting position is. You don't want to do the ones where you're going to be increasing it from a bad position to start with. For instance, offense is terrible for this. If you're doing the percentage ones, it's 0.56. That's what the max increase each time is. Again, 2.8 being your maximum, right? 4 increases, if you got them all, would be 2.24%. The extra, the part, so you can start out with a mod at 0.56. If you start out with a mod, that's your maximum. If you start out with a mod that's at 0.30, you've lost 0.2 of an increase. And then if you don't get really good boosts each time you jump, even if you got all 4, if they were at the low end, you're basically in a bad position with this mod. You'll get into the 1.4, 1.5 range. It's not a great mod. It's half of what a different mod could be. Now, the reason I bring this up is to get 4 increases on one mod is pretty low. We're talking less than 1% to get all 4 on there. The reverse is true as well. To totally miss a stat is also the exact same percentage, right? If we're going to miss it 4 times in a row, it's pretty much the same idea. You're going to be, it's hard for that to happen. It's not impossible, obviously, and we've seen it. I've seen mods where I got all 4 on there, and I've seen mods where, the speed never increased all 4 times. What you want to think about is as you're increasing them, if you start with a good position, if you start with a 5 speed, and you miss on the first one, you may want to splice, and let's say we're splicing here, you want to splice to the second one again. You may want to do the next splice. If you miss a second time, it's probably time for you to cut your losses. If your goal on this mod was to get speed and you're not getting speed by the second time, it's probably time to cut your losses. Unless something else magical happened, unless you were doing, it had flat offense and both of them went on there and were maximum increases, and now maybe this mod could be an offense mod for you. If that happens, sure, maybe keep it, but otherwise, it might be time to cut your losses and move on to a different mod. Don't chase it to the end. Especially if you start out with a 3 or a 4 speed, you're really not in a great position to start with. You start with a 3, you're at the bottom end. If you miss on the first 2, there's a good chance you'll never even take it above 10. It's not worth your time. Let it go, move on. This is even true when you get them and you're upgrading. If you get a gold mod and you're upgrading it, you should upgrade it by threes. Do to level 3, see what hits. If your goal for this mod is to get, speed or offense and that doesn't hit the first time, well, you haven't spent a lot of money. If it's a good mod like a 5 speed, I may do the second one. But if I miss again and the whole purpose and the only goal I had for that mod was speed, I'm not going to do any more level upgrades to it. Most likely, I will go and sell that mod, recoup some of the money I lost on it, and try for a different mod. It's just not worth it to continue chasing it. You may hit on the next two, but you've missed a lot of speed, or a lot of offense, or a lot of protection, or whatever the goal for that mod was. It's been missed. Don't see it through. Let it go. Move on. Save your money. Mods are about quantity. If you want quality mods, you've got to go through a large quantity of mods here. This is all a numbers game. And the more you play, the more you roll the dice with the mods, the more likely you are to get the one you want. But chasing a mod that starts out bad and gets worse is a bad idea. You have to cut your losses. You have to know when to run. If you have some other character that needs that type of mod and it's not terrible, and you just need to get a mod on that character, sure, put it on there. But probably don't upgrade it any further. Just put it on that character, move on with a different mod, and try there. But in most cases, for me, I just sell them. I get the money back, and I'm in a better position to try the next mod. And that is the math of the mods for me. You really want to identify what you're after, identify the maximum way to get it, and then cut your losses when you're not getting that. Find a different one. You will get 24 speed mods if you roll the dice enough. So don't waste your time on the ones that don't hit the first one or two times. Go to a new table. This is Vegas. If the table's cold, time to get up and move to the next one. Same thing here. If you're not hitting on that mod, let it go, move on to the next one. So that's the synopsis of the math. If I missed anything, let us know. And as always, if you have questions, take it to Theory Crafting, and we will be more than happy to answer anything you might have there. Thanks for your time, guys.